Senator Bob Casey and your staff, who advocated for our SBA funding, which has created opportunities for entrepreneurs right here in Western PA to thrive. I believe most of you know about the Entrepreneurs Forever program, which offers monthly peer group support to small business owners, and we are happy to say our members are here with us today. In fact, that's how we came up with the theme Stronger Together. Our members work together as they face challenges and growth opportunities, which inspire us to bring you a special guest to kick off today's Success Summit. I am pleased to introduce Simon Huntley, who is the founder and CEO of Harvie, the #1 local grocery delivery service in Pennsylvania. Harvie's whole business model is all about working together with local farmers, producers, and makers. Let's roll a short video to learn more about Harvie.
My name is Simon Huntley. I'm the CEO and founder here at Harvie. And what we do is we bring the best products from across the region, from local farms, local producers, and we bring it right to your door. I started this service because I believe there was an unmet need that really wanted fresh local produce, but you wanted it easy and convenient to you. And so now we're doing it. So here's a couple products that we have on a weekly basis. We have about 500 different products. So here's just a couple of them. Pita chips from Pita Land. These are really addictive, dipped in hummus or baba ganoush that we also sell. We have best ever granola. Seriously, it's really good. And then of course, fresh produce from farms right in our region. So here's a fresh tomato, and I have some fresh chard here. The selections change a little bit each week, and then we bring the product right to your door. You choose exactly what you want, and it's free to sign up. And I really welcome you to try us out and try a whole new way of eating.
Simon, thank you for being with us here today. I will ask you some questions, but we also want to give our audience a chance to ask questions as well. So if you'd like to ask any questions of Simon, please use that chat function and we'll answer them at the end of this interview. So let's get started. So Simon, tell us all about how you came to start this business. How did you come up with this idea?
Yeah, so I grew up on a farm here in Western PA. So I grew up in Greene County, and I went, but I was more interested in technology and programming as a kid, and I went to Penn State University here, and I started to work on farms in the summertime, and sort of like I started to cook more and learn about and I think as an idealistic 20-year-old, I looked around at the world and said, agriculture is just this really interesting way that it affects the way we use our land, the way we use our water, labor, business. It's like agriculture is just, I think, a really interesting way to be in the world. And I thought that combining technology and agriculture would be an interesting way to build a career. And just this idea that why are we, I grew up on a farm here in Pennsylvania, so I know we can grow lots of food in this state. And why are we shipping food from across, all the way across the country when our farms in this region can be building sustainable local food economies here in the state, employing people, creating opportunities. And, the average food travels 1,500 miles from farm to plate, right? And so how do we create a new system that changes that? So really I spent 20 years trying to figure out the answer to that question.
So did you always know that you actually wanted to turn that passion into a business?
No, I mean, I think as a teenager, maybe I thought I would start a business. I tried different, I've always been interested in that, but I'm not sure I knew that this would be the thing, but I after college, I worked on a farm for a couple years in Colorado, actually, and I saw how I could help. It was really simple at the beginning, right? I built websites for farms, and it was just like, instead of, and this was 2006, so things are very different now. I know it would be, you could probably be building like AI for farms or something at this point, but at that point it was websites, and it was just a really simple thing that I knew these farms were going out and spending thousands of dollars to hire like a web designer to build the website. And I thought, I know a way where I could like build some templates and make this easy and charge them $20 a month instead of, a large consulting fee. So, that was really the beginning of the business. It's just this small thing that I knew I could do, and I knew I could provide value to these farmers that I wanted to work with. And I've just sort of slowly built the business from there.
That's interesting. You basically worked with the farmer, was getting your hands dirty, literally, and then thought about like, how can I add additional value? And then also, how can I turn that into a business?
Yeah, I think like working, that's like a really good point. Like like if you're, especially a young person,
Yes.
like working in that industry that you're interested in gives you that picture into what the problems might be that they're trying to solve. And so, yeah, and actually while I was working there, I built a website for them, of course, and to like manage their business and things like that. And so that was the original version, and said, oh, I can do this for 10 people, I can do this for 20 people. And eventually, over the years, built that to serve a couple thousand farms across the US and Canada and beyond. So it's just like starting with something small and just trying, just following it from there.
So at Entrepreneurs Forever, we always talk about the power of like peers and networks. Who helped you along the way? Who was your support system?
I've had a lot of different things over the years, and I really believe in that piece of it, because being an entrepreneur, being a business owner can be lonely, right?
Yes.
We were talking before, is that maybe your partner doesn't want to hear about it. Your employees, you need to be talking about things that maybe your employees can't hear about. So it can be really lonely, and I feel like you have to find that release valve for that, and to be able to get that problem solving out. So I understand what you guys are doing, sort of almost like small mastermind groups. I don't know if that's the term that you use, but I've done a couple of those over the years, or had like executive coaches. That's what I'm doing now, is I have an executive coach that I've worked with for the last 3 or 4 years. And I sometimes say is like to give I pay him to give me a boss, like I need a boss. I need someone to tell me.
So it's that accountability piece.
Yeah. And just like when you have like big decisions to make, and just to have someone just to like talk it out with, and for them maybe to call you out if you're not thinking about things right, or, especially someone that you trust, So I've tried different things over the years, and I think it's like absolutely vital to the success of my business and any business. For sure.
So let's talk about the produce. How do you actually like pick the farmers that you want to work with? Like, how does that relationship work?
Yeah, so we have a sourcing team. So basically we have 3 professionals who are going out and finding the best food that we can source in Pennsylvania, and then bringing it into our warehouse. So it's a pretty complicated thing to figure out, like exactly, the right exact products that we need, make sure it's the right quality, the right price, make sure we can get it there. There's a lot of pieces, and that sourcing team does it. So I'm not making those decisions on a daily basis. This sourcing team is sort of figuring those things out. So.
And where is actually your warehouse? It's here in Western PA, correct?
Yeah. We're in Lawrenceville.
Oh,
right.
Nice,
Yeah.
Nice. So tell me about some of the biggest challenges you faced in business. How did you overcome them?
The biggest challenges. Interesting. Let's see. What are my biggest challenges? Such a broad question.
Just pick one. So, okay, let's narrow it down. What is something that was challenging this year for you, and how did you overcome that?
I think some of the challenges for me this year have been, which I know a lot of business owners have faced, is just like turnover in staff. I think I've faced some changes in that, and especially at the leadership level. And so that's been sort of challenging, and forced me to like go back into the business in a deeper way. But I think that's been really, really great for the future of the business. So I just spent a lot of time in my warehouse this year, for example, like figuring out exactly, what are the problems there, and that's a piece of the business that I have been focusing more on, like the marketing, the technology, and the maybe the sourcing side of it, rather than the like, how the trucks get from here to here, and how do we make sure the products get in the boxes right and everything. And so, it was sort of a challenging time in the business to sort of go down that deep in it, but it was really like, I think towards the future of the business, I've learned so much during that period. So usually just try to find what's the good in the situation. And I think we've built a stronger management team over this period, with losing some people and people moving on. So,
Challenges of being the founder, right? Right. So talk about a business opportunity that has come along, and how did you capitalize on that business opportunity?
Yeah, so one of the big shifts that I've made in the last 7 or 8 years is so I told you about the beginning of the business where I was building websites for farms, And that over time turned into something a little more complicated. It turned into like order management. I would help. There's maybe some folks in the audience have been a member of a CSA program, a community supported agriculture program.
Yes.
And so that's really what the business turned into over time, is like a technology to help them manage that business. So like, take the signups and figure out who should get the box every week, and like that whole, like almost like if anyone uses Shopify, we were almost like a Shopify for these farms. But I started to see a constraint to that model. Like it wasn't, the farms were losing too many customers every year. They couldn't really grow. And so it was like, I kind of felt like my business couldn't grow because like the farms that I was working with couldn't grow. So I really spent but the business was working pretty well at that time. Like I had a small team of 5 or 6 people, and we were, it was like it was a nice business. So I had the chance to sort of spend a year on customer research and just talking to customers and trying to understand like, why aren't these CSA programs working for them? And not really with any idea of like, am I going to solve this problem or am I not? Just like, let's just take the time to spend this year to learn. And then Harvie sort of what came out of that is like, how do you make a more customer friendly, version of this thing? And the number one thing that I had recognized at that time was, if you're in a CSA program, you get like a standard box of just like vegetables maybe coming off the farm or something like that. And if you can't choose, if you don't like broccoli or you don't like, maybe you get a box full of kale, maybe you don't like that, So Harvie really was about this, like, how do you make a customizable version of a CSA program? And that's sort of like, I've kept following that down. But that was like an opportunity that I saw, that something that was sort of working, but like couldn't really grow. And that's really what Harvie is about.
Nice. So you talked a little bit about employees and hiring. We often hear from our business owners that it's really difficult to find and hire great people. How have you been able to build your team? And maybe give us a perspective of when you started out to even the challenges that you just talked about with now you're looking at like different leadership levels. But do you have any advice for any of our business owners that may be going through that?
Yeah, hiring is really hard. I think, oftentimes we have so little time that we spend with people when we're interviewing them for a position. Maybe you do a phone screening and in person, it's just like, it's so little time. So especially at the leadership level now, I try to spend a lot more time with people before I bring them on board. So, maybe try to find like a couple month project that you can do with them, like, like a smaller, maybe a consulting piece, or like, how do you figure out if the two of you are going to work really well together? And so at the leadership level, that's what I'm looking for. In the rest of the business, I'm really looking for, as leaders in the business, we need to develop the systems within the business where certainly I want everyone to be successful within the business, but it has to be, everything can't be in their heads. Like we need to build like systems that we can bring new people in if people leave, and it's like easy to train people, easy for people to be successful within the organization. And so I'm really looking to like build those systems for the people that, that's what I think my job is like in management and leadership is like, that the business has to be this system that, we can have people come in and people can leave. And that's just like a natural thing that happens in businesses.
Yeah.
And then I think like, and this might be more at the leadership level, is like really knowing yourself as a leader.
Yes.
Like, what are you really good at and what are you not good at? And find those people that you can place around you to do the things that you're not good at. As a company, we've been reading this, was it the six types of working genius? I don't know if you're familiar with this idea. So that might be something people could check out. And it does it's a really neat framework for understanding, where your strengths might be. And I know there's like hundreds of different things like this out there. But one that I recognize in myself is that I'm good at thinking about like the future and the next idea and like what's that, like the vision, the vision and the innovation of like, how are we going to make this warehouse work, or how are we going to make this technology work? And I really like that part of it, the problem solving part of it. But sometimes like the really down, like, we're going to do this every day, and we have to execute on this. I get sort of bored of that. And so like finding people that like really love that part of it, like executing the plan day after day. And just being honest with yourself, of what you're good at and what you're not.
No, I think that's key. And also in business, building those repeatable processes so that you can, continue to build the business, and you as a founder can continue to like be the visionary and the leader on that end. Right. All right. So what is your best advice for entrepreneurs who are ready to scale up and build their business?
I think first thing is, like I said before, is talk to customers. Make sure you really understand who your customer is really important. And like everything that we do comes from customers. And so like that's that's sort of the point that I got in my business in, I guess, around 2016, where it was like, it was a nice business, a small business, but I couldn't see how it could like scale to the next level. And as I said, I spent the year on customer research to really understand what that bigger challenge is going to be. But I think also, as I was thinking about like, what can I talk about today? Yeah. I think we can't be, as business owners, we can't like, we see so much success modeled, but let's see, how do I say it? Don't try to be anything but who you are as a business or as a business owner. Like we're not all going to have $1 billion businesses or $1 million businesses even. And certainly there's a certain financial success that just keeps the lights on and keeps payroll going. But I don't think like every business doesn't have to be some massive business, right? And so just like learning to love the problem that you're solving, learning to love the customers that you're working with, learning to love the work is like almost what's more important to me at this point, Yeah,
no. Build the business to where you want it to be.
Right.
Not what you think other people want it to be.
Right, exactly.
No, I think that's key. So now let's take some questions from our audience. And I see a couple questions here. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Did you recommend that the founder, or do you recommend that the founder/owner always be the face of the company? You did a great job in all the Harvie ads I see online, but what if you're less charismatic/handsome or don't want to be the face of your own company?
Interesting. I think that can work. I think that for me, the storytelling piece of Harvie has been so important, of like what kind of like local and with Harvie, it's like what kind of local and independent food economy were we trying to build? How are we trying to build these connections between consumers and producers? And so for me, that storytelling aspect has been so important, and it's like very natural to me. I love writing. I love telling that story, and I'm very passionate about it, obviously. And in the case of the Harvie with the Facebook ads, sadly they work better than any of the other ads that we do, right? So
did you test that?
Yes, we tested it, over and over. And I keep being like to my ads team, I'm like, you got to find something else that works better. And
they're so like, no,
they have found some other ones over time, but like those ads always work really well for us. And so I try to give the business what it wants. And so I guess yeah, but that's interesting. But I think it can definitely work. I don't necessarily have any advice for that because I'm not sure.
It seems like what you're saying is you have to, as a business owner, just trial and error, test what works for you. Sometimes it is being the face of the company and telling that personal story or telling the story of the business that works and resonates with your audience. And sometimes it's not, but you would have to kind of like test and see which works best.
Yeah, but I think it's like okay to put yourself, like maybe it's okay to be a little bit uncomfortable. Like if you're not comfortable being that face of the business, maybe you feel comfortable in writing versus maybe you could do like an email newsletter, or you could do, I don't know, like Facebook posts or, Instagram or something like that. Or it doesn't always have to be the video. I know the video can be pretty intimidating, but also like business is about taking us out of our comfort zones, and like we're all capable of much more than we think we're capable of, and so I think maybe you can try it.
Yeah, try it. Oh, wow. Lots of questions. Okay. What's the most unexpected challenge you faced growing Harvie, and how did you adapt to overcome it?
Most unexpected challenge. I think it's just like how long these things can take. It's just like you just got to keep going, like day after day, month after month, and year after year to really make something like really happen. And so for me, it's just like the patience. Like I can see where we're going as a business. I can see like what is possible. But like having that patience to just be like, okay, today, this is what we're going to do today in service of this like longer term vision over time. So I don't know, that's what comes to mind.
Okay, I like it. All right, do you think there are any challenges or advantages to being in business in Western PA as opposed to other parts of the country?
Yeah, let's see. So I've been in Pittsburgh. I grew up in Western PA. I left for a couple years, but I've been in Pittsburgh for I think 19 years now. So it's a little hard for me to totally say, but what I found with Harvie over these last 7 years is it's been a great place to sort of incubate Harvie, and I love this region, and people are really supportive of small businesses here, especially small farms and small food producers. And so it's been this really great place to incubate Harvie, but I feel like it's a smaller market. We have, I feel like a little bit of a hayseed by saying this, of like a farm boy saying this, but as I spent more time we're now delivering to Eastern PA. So as I spend more time in that region, just how many more people there are for us to reach in that region, and how many more, food producers, and let alone when you talk about like the rest of the East Coast. And so, it's a smaller market. I think we've got to recognize that. And and so that means a lot of things. Like maybe there's less, if you're looking for investors, there might be less investors here than in some areas, or less of a talent pipeline for really those like that top tier talent. I think you can find all that stuff here. It just might take longer.
Okay. In the early days of business, how did you decide in the early days of the business, how did he decide what he should do himself versus delegate, and what positions to hire?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think that with Harvie in the business all along, I think that I've done every job that we have at the business. Like I'll go out and I'll deliver boxes, or at this point, or, pack boxes, or, I've done all of it. So I feel like if there's at least the way I've run it is, if I feel really comfortable about what I'm doing, maybe I have like a written down process or an SOP or something like that. If I can get that job to that point, I should probably go and hire someone to do that. And so, or maybe we should stop doing it if it's not working, right? And so I'm always like trying to find that, like, especially at the beginning, maybe like, what's the next bottleneck to my time? Like, what's the thing that's taking most of my time? And then hiring for that. Or you could look for, what are the things that you have, what do they say, like joy? What are the things that you find energy going towards? Like maybe you should keep doing those things. And the things that you're not finding joy, maybe it's like the accounting. You're like, you're 2 months late on your, running your QuickBooks, or whatever. Like maybe go hire a bookkeeper. And so that's what I would think of.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. How do you keep pricing current with fluctuations in pricing?
With Harvie, we source 700 different products on a weekly basis. We source from 300 different producers. Their prices are constantly changing. And so that's really sourcing's job. They've actually spent a lot of time on that this year, figuring out like exactly, maybe we get a discount from a supplier during one period, and then like, how do you change the price at exactly the right time? So they've just really built a spreadsheet, and so I don't think it's more complicated than that, but it can be really challenging, especially if you have like fluctuations in price a lot of times. But we're an online service, so maybe that's a little bit easier for us because we can just change the prices week to week to reflect the underlying costs.
4 more.
Okay.
The customer research was likely such a highly valuable investment for your business. How do you continue to listen to your customer voice and capture and respond to their feedback?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I just take any opportunity to do that. I send a fair amount of emails to our customers, like from my direct email. So sometimes I get feedback back. We developed something that works pretty well, where we're getting we have sort of like an automated system to get feedback on each individual product. So it like basically the way it works is someone gets a box from us, say on Friday. 2 days later, it'll pick one of the products in that box, send them an email, and ask for specific feedback on that specific product. And I found that has worked really well. Instead of the question being like, how do you like Harvie, being like, how do you like the New York strip steak or something like that. People feel like they can give a better response to that and give really good feedback. And so we have those things that are constantly going into like a Slack channel, so we can follow those in our internal chat. But I think you can always be talking to customers more. I feel like one of the things that I always say to my team is like, when we're not sure what to do next, we should probably go talk to customers. So always spend more time with customers and find those repeatable things that you can do, whether it's like calling people or, if you're working in a retail establishment, you have a lot more time, like face-to-face time with them too. All right. How does a local Pittsburgh business get involved with Harvie to be included in one of your boxes? You would talk to our sourcing team. So there is a link on our website to become a producer with Harvie. And so a form you can fill out, and that'll be passed on to our sourcing team. Feel free to reach out to me, maybe on LinkedIn or something like that, and we can talk as well. Great. You mentioned taking a year to conduct customer research. How did you overcome any paralysis by analysis when launching your business for those of us just starting out? Well, at some point you just have to take a leap, right? Starting a business and entrepreneurship is a risk, right? And you're putting yourself out there. And so, I always think find the smallest thing you can do. Don't worry too much about we say do things that don't scale, right? Don't worry about we're going to be delivering 500 boxes a day. The first week that we delivered boxes with Harvie was actually, we announced it right before the pandemic happened, and then we delivered the first Saturday that everything shut down. Interestingly, the way the time worked. But that week we delivered 30 boxes. The delivery drivers that we had hired didn't show up because obviously, it was a sort of a crazy time. And so we split the route up into 7 employees, and we all went out and we did those first deliveries ourselves, right? We couldn't do that today. Boxes are being packed and delivered as we speak, right? But so just finding how do I test this? How do I get to the next, what's the next bottleneck? How do I get to the next level? And so don't feel like what the idea that you have now has to be the final idea. You can keep just iterating and moving. Just keep moving, you know? Just keep doing, right? All right, I think this may be our final question. How should a small business owner manage digital marketing, including post, newsletter, ads, surveys, and promotions? What budget needs to be allocated? Yeah, that's a great question. We've spent a lot of time. We really spent about 2 years building out our marketing funnel, right? Especially using Facebook. And so being really cognizant of, well, at least what we've done is we've been really cognizant about how much are we willing to spend to acquire a customer by looking at how much does that customer spend with us over a given period. We just look at the first 60 days, for example. So we know exactly how much we're willing to spend to acquire that customer to make sure that money comes back into the business within 60 days. So I think if I were looking at that long list of things, that feels like too much of a list. I feel like find one channel that works and be really good at that one channel, because otherwise it's just too much and you don't know what's working and what's not working. So I think try to keep it simple. Be my first thought. Find one that works. Find one that works. Yeah. Okay, so I was wrong. We have a couple more things to talk about. Sure.
And everyone out there, continue to ask these wonderful questions. If you have just any thoughts that come to mind, things you want to ask Simon, now is the time to ask it because he is sitting here with me and we are really trying to pick his brain. So Simon, well, this is a question from me.
Okay.
Sorry, everyone. How did you come up with the name Harvie?
Well, Harvie is short for harvest, so Harvie Harvest. Interestingly, the way we came up with that is, and I had some other like code names that wouldn't work. I mean, I wanted to find, it was important to me to be able to trademark the name, so I had to find something that was like trademarkable that no one else had used. At that time, I think things would be different now, but we used there was like an online contest where basically you could like outline what the service is and people would submit like potential names back to you. And so I got like this list of 500 possible names and just went through, and then I saw that Harvie. I'm like, that's interesting. So that's really where it came from, and just kept building it from there. And that was something that was trademarkable as well. And so I think like maybe it's funny, like in business, you end up naming things a lot. Like there's those big names, like what is the business? But I feel like there's all these other like naming, you're always like naming things. Like Small Business Success Summit, right?
Yeah.
So I've really found AI is like ChatGPT is like really great for naming things.
Yes. So tell me a little bit, sorry everyone, now I'm asking a couple of my own questions. Tell me about how you utilize ChatGPT in your business, because I think AI is such a hot topic for entrepreneurs right now.
Yeah, how am I using it in my business? I mean, I'm not sure I have anything that's like the killer use case yet, and maybe that's where everyone else is too. Like it's just such a, especially as a technology person, just the technology is just absolutely mind-blowing. I can't believe it's possible what is being done. But I use it for a lot of like simple things where maybe I would have to create a spreadsheet before to figure out a question. I'd be like, okay, if I sell this thing at this margin and I pay this much for, I don't know, like something I had in my head of like, is this like possible or not? I just can talk that into ChatGPT and it'll just give me the answer. So something that would take me like 15 or 20 minutes in a spreadsheet and like all this time, I can get an answer in like 15 seconds, you know what I mean? Or 10 seconds.
So it's like helping you with efficiency.
Yeah. So yeah, it helps me with efficiency. Yes, like naming is like a great little reason to use it. But I think so much is possible. I just think we haven't, like as a society, we're a business culture. We haven't figured out what is that exactly. How does it fit, you know, but there's something there.
No, for sure. I love using it for Facebook posts or like social media, like so easy.
Yeah. Or like you can just like, like maybe if you had a letter you had written, you could be like, here's the letter, turn it into a Facebook post and a LinkedIn post and a Twitter, you know what I mean? So like that kind of thing, like, so efficiency.
So it's almost like when one of our audience members asks about, you know, how do you do all of this? That's an easy way to break it down and be able to like take the same content and put it over multiple channels.
Yes, I've experimented with like giving it like things I'm thinking about and like asking for like, how would you like organize my week or something like that, you know, but it hasn't really worked. But I think there's something, there's something there.
You have to keep feeding it.
Right.
All right, back to the questions. Were there any crisis moments or do or die when it could have all ended?
So many. Oh my, so many. Even right around when the pandemic happened, like that was a time where it was like, is this, what is going to happen to the, and I was like right between the old business and the new business, and the old business was sort of like, you know, not doing that great. And so, and I can think of just so many nights, and like, as everyone does here, like, you know, sleepless nights, or, you know, now it's like, we're worried about like, keep our coolers running, making sure all the deliveries happen. So, I think it's just, again, it's just about finding that support system and just trusting that if you keep doing the work that, you know, it'll turn out well at the end of the day.
All right. In your opinion, how important would a support system with peers have been when you first started out?
I think it'd be really important. I mean, I've always looked to other like people who've been before me and try to figure out like what could I learn from them. I've done it through books, or like I think podcasts are like an amazing resource. I can't believe the kind of conversations that you can hear on podcasts these days. So yeah, I didn't really have that peer group at the beginning. I imagine it could be like, it could really like put you ahead 1 or 2 or 5 years. But at the end of the day, there's certain lessons you have to learn yourself.
Yeah.
So, and you have to do it your own way sometimes too.
Yeah. What is the benefit? I mean, a lot of times at Entrepreneurs Forever, we say the benefit of being a small peer group or taking that 2 hours out of the month to be in one of our peer groups is it gives you the opportunity to work on your business and not in your business. Do you have any thoughts on that? How important it is just to take that time to, you know, whether it's personal development, reading a book, joining Entrepreneurs Forever, listening to that podcast, but actually doing something that helps, you know, enhance your business mind versus just being in the work.
Yeah. I mean, you have to make time for it, or else the business is just going to like gradually subsume you as the I don't know, we're saying founder, entrepreneur, or business owner. And so like we talked about earlier, if like building the things that you're really comfortable with, you need to find a way to build the system so that someone else can do that, assuming you can afford to do that. And so I don't know, it's absolutely essential. And if you want to like scale the business up or get it to the point where, you know, you don't have to be there every minute of every day.
Yeah.
But I know it's really hard when you're like in the middle of that to be like, take away that couple hours, but you just have to. And if you feel like you can't, that may be a sign that you need to change something about how you're running this business if you can't get away for 2 hours.
Yeah. Can you tell us about the first time you hired your first employee?
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, my first employee was a customer support person. So I guess that would be like the thing that I knew, like I knew enough how to do and like could hand it off to someone else. And that was just a part-time employee, and she actually stayed with me for a long time.
Nice.
I can't remember any like really specific stories, but that worked out pretty well that was a good thing, just to have a part-time person who's not like completely reliant on it to start. So.
Good. Do you work with suppliers on packaging your products?
Do I work with suppliers on packaging? I think I know what that question's saying. Like how to get the packaging right so they can sell to us, I think is what the question is asking.
It could be that, or if whoever asked that question, if you would like to clarify, let us know. Or I'm guessing maybe, do you look for are there suppliers out there that package, and would they be able to work with you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when we're looking at suppliers, we're looking at things like, we're looking at packaging is certainly one thing. Does the product come in a package where we can receive it, we can get it out safely to our customers? Obviously, food safety is a big piece of what we do. So we're looking at packaging. We're looking at pricing. Like, is the pricing right in a way that, like, obviously we have a certain margin we need to take for our business, and so is the supplier used to working with wholesale relationships, right? Can they produce at that volume and still make the business work for themselves? It's like a really big question. Is the quality right? Is the product delicious? Can we get it like every week? You know, because we don't always have to get it every week. It can be something we can bring in for a short period, but can we get it here easily? So those are things we're looking at.
How much of your budget is delegated to advertising?
So that's a really good question. We basically, at this point, having spent a lot of time on, like we were talking about, like the marketing funnel, like how much are we willing to spend to acquire a customer? We basically know how much we need to spend on marketing each month to sort of keep our customer numbers even, right? Let's see, it would probably be like 2 to 3% of total volume needs to be spent to just sort of like keep the customers even. So it depends if we're like at a point where are we trying to scale our customer base in a certain area or not. But that's basically what it takes to keep us, to keep us running.
Okay. And then we have a lot of people in the chat that are looking for business to business professionals. How do you find the right ones?
Business to business professionals, or we're talking about like insurance agents, or we're talking about consultants,
All the above.
Things.
So they said lawyers, accountants, etc.
Yeah. I've done almost all that through referral.
Oh,
like
okay.
finding someone, okay, I have an accountant, so who's the lawyer? Like, who's the lawyer I should talk to? You just ask the accountant who the lawyer is I should talk to. I know, like one time I was trying to find a PR person, and maybe you go to someone who go to a journalist and ask who's the PR person I should be talking to. So I think you need to find your networks, and this is where like the peer support can really help the people that you trust, because those professional, like that's such an important piece of it, of finding good partners there.
Oh, nice. Okay, let's see. As an online service, any advice for getting users to introduce/use new technology, especially for customers that may not be super tech savvy or eager to learn?
Interesting. I think it really depends on what the service is, I guess. But I think we need to, like any business you're in, thinking about the onboarding process, right? So how does someone go from being a prospect to like a really great customer? There's always work to be done at that period, and that is there training you can provide? I know back in the day when I was doing more technology, like we built software for farms, as we talked about earlier, and so we would do like webinars, and we would like teach them about different pieces of the service, or we in fact did sort of like you're doing, we did like summits for like these small farms across the country. And so like knowing that your job is education, of getting them from that point of maybe they're interested in your service all the way through to being a really great customer. And so there's always work to be done there.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Oh, clarification on the question, packaging standards, environmental standards. So I'm going to read it again. Do you work with suppliers on packaging products? Or do you work with them when it comes to like the standards of packaging and even environmental standards?
When folks are asking us, we have worked with them. It's not something we really have the resources to spend a ton of time with people, but I know there's a fair amount of organizations in Western PA that they could help with this. If this is specifically food, we might be able to make a connection for that person.
Okay. Last question. What is your big picture vision for Harvie? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I think Harvie is almost like an impossibly big vision. Is that I believe that we can build an independent local food economy, that we can buy food from local farms and producers, and we can make this work at a large scale. And so we've expanded into the Philadelphia region this year, and so we're looking at like how do we reach the rest of the East Coast? How do we reach, how do we get out to Boston or Chicago, or so I'm thinking about that, and I believe it's possible. And so I'm going to keep solving the problems, and I'm so excited about it. I've been working on this for 20 years, and I figure I got at least 20 years left in me.
Oh, you have longer.
So I'm really excited about the work, and just keep following where it leads.
Yeah, awesome. Well, everyone, wasn't that amazing? Thank you, Simon, for joining us for an inspiring conversation. I think it truly illustrates what it means to be stronger together. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you for coming. And as a thank you for attending today's summit, we have prizes. A huge thank you to Harvie for donating a mystery prize box for our audience. So let's spin the wheel.
Whoa. Here we go. It's spinning. Oh, there it goes.
There it is.
Oh, look at that.
We're very fancy.
Amazing. Yeah, talk about technology. The Price is
Look
Right.
at all those names. All right. And the winner is it Rebecca? Congratulations. We will reach out to you to arrange the details, and everyone stay tuned because we have more prizes coming up.